Greetings and salutations. I trust I find you all well. I will start by apologizing. I was wrong. Why? For the last 7 years, I have been preaching that everyone on earth should stop consuming flesh, blood, and pus. I've been preaching that everyone on earth should not participate in the adrenochrome ritual of killing, consuming flesh, blood, and pus. Let me explain. It is very clear to me now that not everyone is capable of doing so. There are clearly two distinct soul groups here on earth. There are two distinct soul groups. We might all look the same. We might all look human, but we're not all the same. There's one soul group that absolutely needs to consume adrenochrome, blood, flesh, and pus to survive, to thrive, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically. If they do not have adrenochrome, if they do not have flesh of other beings and the blood of other beings and the pus of other beings, milk and cheese, they will be ill mentally, emotionally, and physically. They have vampire, viper, reptilian DNA. That is their soul group. They need to have death. There's another soul group that is the opposite, that absolutely thrives mentally, emotionally, physically, when they do not participate in the adrenochrome ritual, when they are not eating blood, flesh, and pus. They thrive on plants, on photosynthetic food that has got light in it, plants, fruits, vegetables, nuts. Two distinct souls here on earth. They are the natives, the originals. They do not have genetically modified reptilian DNA in their soul on a cellular level. So this is why I'm apologizing, because not everyone can do it. Many of you have reached out and said, I've tried. I've heard everything people have said about going plant-based, and I've tried, and I simply cannot physically do it. I get ill and begin to die. My teeth fall out. I get boils and bumps. I get all kinds of diseases when I don't have adrenochrome. We're not all the same. We are not all the same. So this message that I'm giving out, I'm correcting. Only those who have living cells, only those who have original DNA, only those who have rewritten and deleted their reptilian, viper, vampiric DNA should go plant-based, should stop consuming flesh, blood, and pus. Those who haven't, you carry on eating death. It's really that simple. I'm living testimony of that for those of you who want to preach to me. 7 years ago, I had type 2 diabetes. I was 20 stone overweight. When I stopped consuming adrenochrome, flesh, blood, and pus, within a year, my type 2 diabetes reversed. I was healed. I lost all that weight. I became super intelligent, emotionally, mentally, and physically. I upgraded my DNA drastically and continue to do so. Getting better and better. I'm healthier mentally, emotionally, and physically than I've ever been in my entire life. A lot of it due to the fact that I'm rewriting my DNA and scrubbing their vampiric, reptilian codes that were genetically modified into my soul. We're not all the same. We are not all the same. Some of you have reached out and said, what about the indigenous tribes? There are indigenous tribes out there who consume animals, and they're so connected to nature. They are so supernatural. They can do all these supernatural things. I say you're a liar. Because if you truly believed that these primitive tribes out in the jungle are connected and supernatural and doing all these supernatural things, you'd be living with them. You would break heaven and hell to go and live with them and learn and connect with Source like they are. But you're not. You're not. You want to use them as an excuse. Many of you have never even lived with these. You're only regurgitating what you've seen on your programmed television. Many of you have never lived in an indigenous tribe. You don't know what they do. You're going by what you've read and what you've seen elsewhere, secondhand information. I can categorically tell you now, indigenous tribes out in the wild that are eating and killing each other and killing animals are not any more connected to Source than you or me. They're not any more enlightened than you and me. In fact, if they met you, they would think you are a supernatural being. I can guarantee you this. Facts. We're not all the same. We are not all the same. If you want to continue to consume, if you're a living soul, and you know in the depths of your heart that you should not be consuming adrenochrome, flesh, blood, and pus, you have an opportunity to redeem your soul. You can change today. Change is the only constant. You have the opportunity to change now and begin the process of rewriting your soul DNA. Don't get angry at me. I'm just a messenger. Don't get angry at me. I am just a messenger. I'm going to repeat one more time for those of you really slow, who need things broken down very minutely. An animal and a human are created in the exact same alchemical process, emotionally, mentally, and physically. For an animal to come into existence is the exact same process as how a human being comes into existence. You need a male and a female. You need a male animal and a male human that has a penis and testicles. The male will then have a chemical reaction when it's aroused, sexually aroused, that will activate its semen. Both animals and humans, males produce semen in their testicles. It then has an erection. That cow had an erection just like a human male. And that pig and that chicken, exactly the same. They then seek a female, inseminate their penis inside the vagina. Yes. All that so-called meat, those beings, that animal that you ate, likely had a penis or a vagina, just like your mom or your dad. The two made love, just like a human does. The two human animals, the two animals and the two humans. The male ejaculates into the womb of the female. This happens in animals and this happens in humans. The female is then impregnated. It receives that semen into her ovaries, her eggs. Those of you who eat eggs, yes. Humans have eggs, just like animals. And then something magic happens. Something happens in the womb. Something supernatural. Spirit molecules alchemicalize to create a being. A living, breathing, flesh and blood being. It is then incubated, that being, inside the womb of this feminine energy, this feminine entity, animal or human. And when the gestation period is over, the female goes into labor. This happens for animals and humans. During that labor, she goes through the same emotional, mental, and physical process humans and animal. She then gives birth to that being into this world. You call that a mother and her baby. This is the same for humans and animals. Exactly the same process. Like for like. A being is born with a beating heartbeat, with organs, just like a human, with a brain, just like a human, with a heart, just like a human, with veins, just like a human, with arteries, just like a human, with emotions, eyes, nose, mouth, genitals, just like a human. The difference is, we have a lot more DNA capacity, memory capacity than an animal. We can reason if we so choose. We have the capacity to be a lot more intelligent than the animal. We are the same as the animals, but we have the capacity. We have a higher bandwidth of intelligence, so we can reason. Some of these animals might eat other animals. Some of these animals eat each other's feces. Doesn't mean we should do the same. When animals meet each other, some of them sniff each other's asses. It doesn't mean we should do the same. Our behaviors must be different, but our physiology, our spiritual makeup is exactly the same. The difference is the capacity. We just have more capacity than the animals. More capacity for intelligence. But clearly, not all humans have the same capacity. We are not all the same. Some of us are just born different. Time 144. Emit 432. Time 144. Emit 432. Time 144. Emit 432.
Dig, let me put you on game. Solve the riddle of why you misunderstood all the time. The reason why you misunderstood a lot is because you can see a world that everybody else can't see. Everybody else see grass. You see the seed in the water under the ground. So when people come to you, they come to you with surface level stuff, but you see the root of the problem. Eventually trying to do that all the time will have people thinking that you're better than them, or you trying to stun on them, whatever the case may be, but that was never your intentions. This is why you misunderstood all the time, because you're gifted. You understand what I'm saying? And one thing about being gifted, the gifted always suffer from anxiety because you see a world that nobody else can see. And it's hard for you to explain because who you going to talk to about it? So what you do is try to suppress that side of you and try to be with the common folks and talk about regular stuff. But you suffer in that world because you're a giant when they're trying to run in crowds. Actually, you don't need none of them around you. You're actually the giant of the crowd, and they always see you first. This is why you fall out with energies before everybody else do. And they always look at you like you the troublemaker, but then 6 months later, the one that you fell out with, everybody falls out with. And by the time they come to you with it, you done already moved on with life. You understand what I'm saying? You have to learn how to see the world that you see because it has a purpose to it. Your pain has a purpose. That's the reason why you can see the way you can see, because all the pain that you started out with. You understand what I'm saying? But when you tap into you, you tap into that.